Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Grumman Pilots YouTube channel. And this is the most interesting pre-purchase I ever did for November 4-9 Golf Tango. The buyer was right there, Frank Fella, and he was buying it from his ex-wife, Nancy Fella. Made for a very interesting pre-purchase, a very interesting wording of defects on the airplane so you don't offend anybody. But stay tuned for some more fun as I walk you through all the defects I found at the pre-purchase. Now in this fifth picture, you can see a couple of different things. One, the V-strut fairing on the nose strut is mostly gone, and the nose strut does require some attention. It has not been sanded and repainted in quite a while, and it's going to be checked for pits in that nose strut to make sure it's still a valid nose strut. Now, nothing fancy here. It's just a crack with a stop drill in it, and it's in the brake fairing down on the main fairing, so you can see that they've taken a little abuse over the years and they'll need to be addressed. And as you can see on the upper end of that same fairing where the fuel sump fairing is, it's taken a lot of abuse over the years, mismatched hardware, and some serious cracks in the royalite, which may be able to be repaired or may have to be replaced with a new piece. And while we're up there, we're going to take a look at the fuel sumps, and as you can see, either the O-ring is bad, it's a mix of fuels of both an auto fuel and 100 low lead, and then also we have here a leak around one of the inspection plate covers in the wing. So the fuel sealant is going to have to be the low adhesion, and probably the high adhesion is going to be needed. The fuel caps need to be blasted and repainted. The labels near the fuel entry points need to be addressed. This one looks okay. I mean, it's perfectly readable, but the fuel cap leaves something to be desired. And notice the bare aluminum around the cap. Those would have to be addressed as well to prevent further corrosion. And then on the bottom of the other wing, we have a screw starting to weep right there, and as you can see, that would have to be addressed with the low adhesion sealant on it. So that takes care of looking at the bottom of the wings and finding out what the fuel situation is going to be. And as you can see right here, the step peg fairing is pretty well shot. It's been tried with aluminum tape. Probably didn't do any good, so probably a call to Fletch Air to get one. And then while you're at it, probably have to call the GPA to get some pegs, plugs for the pegs, both the side peg and the bottom plug for the step pegs that are on the aircraft. And then we'll finally get to where we start looking at the rest of the aircraft in terms of dimples in the paint and things like that. Again, moving around the airplane, we see a chip in the paint on the back by the rear strobe. We also note that the screws that are holding the nav light in the tail are rusted and would be addressed. Here we see the Teflon tracks for the canopy. They're not snapped into place, especially the top one, and you're going to want to address that. Remember those fuel leaks we saw on the bottom of the wing? Well, they're sufficient enough that they're a drip and they're falling down onto the fairing and staining that. So that'll have to be looked at. And then again, there's obviously a leak here in the foam sealant because the inside of the nav lens is all clouded with moisture, so that's probably a bad sign. And then right here you can see on the auxiliary power port where one of the hinges is bent out of shape and it's going to need to be bent back into shape and then probably fixed in some sort of manner. And then we will look here on the bottom of the fuselage. We see this repair, and we're going to want to look in the logs and see what it might be for, and then look in the 337s to make sure it's properly addressed. And then here we have a wing root seal that's distorted by the fuel that's been hitting it, so that means we probably have a fuel leak on the inside at the bottom end, so we need to check that. And then here we can see the broken hinge on the oil cooler door. Remember, we had the auxiliary power door had a problem with the hinge, so we may need to be replacing those with stainless steel pieces so they don't wear and bend as bad. Now we're going to start looking at the engine, and we can see right there that's a too small of a diameter washer on the baffle seal and a rusted standard 1925 screw holding it in place, so that could be replaced. We obviously have a leak here where the spark plugs come through the grommet. That's going to need to be addressed with some RTV to help keep the engine cool, noted on the log. And here on the back of the engine is a really big leak all along the back where the baffle seal is just not doing its job, and it's been tried with RTV and not working. And you can see the number of attempts that have made with pieces and RTV overhauls, and none of it was really working. Even though they don't fly long enough to really record any high temperatures, it's still something that's going to need to be addressed. So we start looking at the ELT covers, and for each side that can be removed to get to the ELT, you'll notice by the slots right there, it must have a label on it, and this one's kind of worn and needs to be replaced. And then on the other side, we notice a screw's backing itself out, so we'll have to look at the fastener and check all the hardware on that side as well. And then peeking up under the rear of the canopy, we can also see right here that the ride bumpers are not all in place, and they'll need to be addressed. And then quickly looking inside, we're missing some carpet on the co-pilot side. Again, something that's going to be addressed. And you'll also notice it has the aileron trim control right there in the console, which have to be looked at. Obviously, this TSO'd radio, the 97, probably needs a new display. That one doesn't look too well. And then we'll actually skip back here to the nose strut, a better picture of it and all the pits in it. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found this walkthrough of a pre-purchase of a Tiger useful and informative. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day flying your Grumman.